Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, as the calendar year comes to an end, the academic year at Missouri Southern is about halfway through, and today we're visiting with Dr. Alan Marble, the Missouri Southern president. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Judy. Always good to be here.
I think we talked about 6 months ago when you became president, so we're kind of halfway through the full year of being president. If someone were to ask you your feelings on the state of the university as we reach this point in the year.
Well, you know, we have a great university, no question about it. We have some financial challenges, there's no doubt about that either, but we have people working on that, and I think certainly we're off to a good year. We have great enrollment, we have great faculty and staff, and it couldn't be better, really.
Great. Well, in this next half hour or so, I'd like to cover some of the topics people have been hearing about, kind of
Sure.
give us an update of what's happening. And I know one of the emphasis we've heard faculty and staff and students from you has been efforts for more open communications on campus. So explain what you were trying to do at this aspect.
Well, I think transparency is just critical for us to all find our way to find the same page so we can sing from the same hymnal book. So we've been working really diligently to open the lines of communication and to involve people in just every aspect of the university, especially financially. There have been financial questions, and we have issues of low funding. We know that, but we're working to solve those as a team.
Good. I know you have started an actual website for yourself where you kind of answer some of the questions, perhaps deal with rumors, kind of another means of communicating with
Right,
them.
yeah, called Between the Lions, which is kind of clever. I didn't think of that, but I'm not that clever.
The lions and the lions.
Yeah, lions, Between the Lions. And got another issue about ready to, so I'm not going to answer too many questions.
Okay, we'll discard those right now. So that's a way, though, that you're trying to reach the faculty and staff of people like you.
Yeah, I think that we just, and we've done a great job, I think, of putting aside titles and things and just communicating with each other as human beings, because we have a campus full of wonderfully bright people, and we need to utilize their ideas every way we can, and that's what we're trying to do. This university's heading in the right direction, I believe, and my theory of leadership, I've told you before, is to find a great parade and walk in front of it.
Right. Well, I know as we're recording this program, we're preparing to hear more about the state legislature and what's happening in the spring, and capital improvements is something they talk about each year, and Missouri Southern has those capital improvement needs.
We do. We have several, in fact. I just learned last week that we have some water leaks, and even in this building, some places that we need to address, and have been trying to address in the past. We will focus, of course, this year on Reynolds Hall, because it's severely overcrowded, has been for years, with old laboratories, old equipment. We just really need, we have about a $30 million project there, and we've asked for, $30 million. Looks like we may get 5.2. So that's good news, but it's not the complete answer, but it's a good start.
And that building, when you look at the original structure of the campus, it was there at the beginning. I mean, it's one of those first buildings people look at, Missouri Southern.
I had classes in those buildings, and they look pretty much the same. The classrooms look kind of the same. So, yeah, it's a cornerstone building, and all of our STEM courses basically are offered in there. And chemistry and biology and math is located in that building. So we just have, it has issues that need to be addressed.
So as that technology has changed, teaching science and biology and so forth, you need the facilities to update that. You were able to do a mole a few years ago, but now you have that other side of the piece.
Right, and this, the thing, it's not just the age, but it's the demand. So many people are looking to move into those areas, and the demand for classes in that particular building is just incredible. So, we need to update, we need to modernize, and we really need to expand.
So do you feel, with the emphasis on the government level, whether it's state or federal, on STEM, technology and education, that's perhaps something that really they're going to help support those types of growth?
Oh, I think so. They've clearly made that one of the priorities. So I think we're on the short list for funding. I think we'll get there. We have some very strong supporters in our local legislative group. And the governor's office seems to like our proposal too, so hopefully we'll get the money.
Right. Of course, money is something that everyone has been concerned about for a number of years, and we've had sessions where you have met with faculty and staff. The staff members have gotten together and kind of let people know what the books really look like and where funds come from.
Right. Yeah. It's I think the first time I met with faculty, we talked about open book management, and that's just a fundamental piece of how I believe we should operate. Open book management is just a slice of what Jack Stack promotes in his great game of business idea. So what we're trying to do is modify some of those concepts from the great game of business over to the great game of education. And in fact, tomorrow we'll have another meeting. It's actually be the first meeting of the design team. We had those initial meetings, a month ago, something like that, 4 sessions. Had 370 some people show up, so really it was an incredible turnout. And we have over 50 people volunteer for the design team, so it's going to be okay. We'll get a lot of good ideas.
Right. So people in the community, when we say the great game of education, we're talking about a program to help people really with the communication, understanding, and get involved in that whole process.
Oh, absolutely. Financing. You know, it seems like the budget, historically, in college and universities, the budget has been sort of a mysterious
money
item.
Comes and it goes. And we don't,
and there was no connection between working. So what we're trying to do is use the great game of business concepts to communicate better and to let everyone in the institution understand where the money comes, the inflows and the outflows of the money, and how they affect it, and how they can impact it both positively and negatively, and make things better with what we have.
So no matter what your position is, if you're an administrator or a staff person, you will have that understanding of know you play a role in the whole process.
That's right. You know, and I think it's a distinction that we should make. We've always been open book. I mean, we're a public institution, so the books are
public
open.
records.
Right, they're always open. However, the financial information has been in accounting form that's difficult to understand. So part of what we're doing is working this into more common sense language where people can understand, like your home budget. You know, you have money in and money out, and we don't have to worry about all the accounting pieces. Well, we do that to satisfy the auditors, right? But you know, to make it more understandable for people.
Right. Well, when people from outside the community look at Missouri Southern, they may say, well, they must have money. They're building things. There's things going on. So is that part of explanation of how can we afford to do dorms and these types of things?
Well, you know, those are very good questions. You know, the dorms or the residence halls. Excuse me, Darren Fullerton.
Don't use the word dorms.
He hates dorms. The residence halls are being built by students. It's going to be their fees that pay for those, and we've actually sold bonds and put the cost in at about 75%. If we have 25% even occupancy that were vacant, we would still be able to service the bonds and to cover the maintenance and repair. So we have a little cushion. So that's going to take care of that. The building that's going on in the baseball stadium and with the end zone facilities, donations. We've raised a lot of money privately. Haven't said a lot about it, but you know, there was for the end zone facility, a $2 million donation, a $4 million, one for $1 million something, and we just had one the other day for $600,000. Baseball stadium is a $2.5 million project. Donations have taken care of that. So.
And those are community supporters.
Yeah, those are community supporters, and you know, we just couldn't do that without them because it didn't come from the state and it didn't come from the federal government. It came from our community, and we're just terribly grateful that people have bought in like that.
And you're also having a safe room built along with the residence halls, which I guess ties into some government funding to help you do that.
It does. You know, if there's any bright side to the tornadoes that have been ravaging the area for the last several years, it's that safe rooms have become more affordable. The federal government through FEMA has decided to fund the primary piece of those. We have to match it, not dollar for dollar, but just with a piece.
You have to have an investment in that project.
Yeah,
basically.
25%. So that will be done. So everyone in the residence hall area could get to shelter quickly. And so that'll be starting soon.
Well, you mentioned the community support and funding, and I know there's always been talk of that less we get from the state, the more we're going to have to find other sources. And this is something that will continue in the future?
Oh yeah, we really have to amp it up. You know, we could probably even say we're behind a little bit in how we do in how we accomplish all of our fundraising, but I think that we've gained some traction and we're moving along. It's primarily you see it in athletic facilities because that's probably, you know, it's the most
one of the most visible aspects of the campus, right?
The most attractive to donors, but that gets people started, you know, in the right direction. But we'll be raising money for other buildings. I think, you know, if we get this money for rentals and start, no reason we can't have someone help sponsor a lab and put their name on the lab, and that gives us more money to build with. So we'll put a plan around that also. And
we're seeing more of that as far as on campus, you're naming facilities for people in honor of people.
Yeah, that, you know, it just helps. I mean, we said several times that as the state appropriations have kind of drifted away, that we become more like an independent or a private university. And if you go to any private university in the world, you're going to see names on buildings and facilities. And the reason is because they have to do it that way, and you know, so will we.
Right. So higher education, I know even K through 12, sometimes the school districts are talking about those opportunities. Everybody's looking at these challenges.
Yeah, they do that now. It's kind of something I heard years ago from a person at John Brown University said that the public and private universities are converging in how we look. And I think there's a lot of truth in that we're starting to look very similar in how we have to approach our business.
We keep operating. Of course, the attractions that are being brought to campus, such as the residence halls and the new facilities, you're also approaching new students and enrollment. And the Board of Governors had a meeting in November, talked about a Noel Levitt's report, kind of following up on efforts to increase enrollment. So let's follow up on that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. You know, that was one of the driving forces behind the master's programs. It was there's need in the community. It's what students want. They're either going to get their master's program through one of the private schools who will come to town and offer those, or us, or out of state somewhere. So we thought maybe the expanding into that area would work, and it has. Those programs filled up quickly. Student enrollment on campus is holding steady when a lot of places are dropping, and we're improving retention. So the more students we can keep, year after year, the more enrollment will grow, and that's tuition revenue that will offset the loss of state dollars. Right.
And I know when you look at national trends, I've read that there were kind of in a downturn. Perhaps the baby boomers kids, there are fewer kids graduating from high school now. So some schools across the country are facing that challenge.
Yeah, we're in a trough for high school graduates. However, we're in a constant cycle of change in our economy where people need to be looking at new. The jobs that they had 20 years ago maybe are obsolete now. They need to come back and learn some new skills and get into a new career. Right. So there's opportunities in other areas that we need to probably penetrate those markets a little bit.
Missouri Southern's always had a strong tradition of serving what we call the non-traditional student as well, and we continue to try to develop programs for those people who might be looking for career changes.
Precisely, that's a direct strength for us, and online education and things that make it much more convenient for the person who needs to change careers, mid-career.
And so adapting to the future needs is one of the ongoing challenges then for the university.
I think the big challenge for us and the big challenge for everyone in higher education is change and the velocity of change. It seems like it just keeps speeding up. Things change so quickly. I saw a show, I think it wasn't Nova, but it was on PBS, about a spacecraft that was launched to a comet, 10 years ago. So it had to go in space and go into hibernation for 3 years and then reawaken and go meet with this comet, and millions of miles. So when they launched it 10 years ago, they put the highest resolution camera available, digital camera on, and it's only 4 pixels. Your cell phone now has a much better camera than the best available for the European Space Agency to put on this spaceship when they launched it just 10 years ago. So things are changing rapidly, and we have to keep up.
And of course, Missouri Southern has offered more online courses, new ways of teaching. There's new technology coming to the classrooms as well.
Oh, sure. We have online courses and flex courses, blended kind of things. Yeah, we are doing a good job of staying current. It's just that things are changing so rapidly, we have to look ahead rather than try to just stay.
What's happening now, what's going to happen in 10 years. I know we've heard a lot this past fall about Missouri Southern working with area schools and the high schools offering more the opportunities for their students to take a dual credit and those types of courses. So you're working with the community interests as well.
Oh yeah, Julie Wingert has done a great job with our dual credit, getting out into the schools and building our dual credit portfolio. Typically those are the very high performing students. They do very well. And it works as a recruiting tool for us later, once they get used to the rigors of higher education while they're in high school. It's a much easier shift for them whenever they move on, and we often get those students. Sometimes we don't; they go to another university, but that's okay too. They do have a head start toward to graduation.
Well, we hear a lot about education locally with the area high schools and the school districts. Do you work closely with those school districts to get a feel for community concerns on education?
Oh, we do. We meet regularly with the superintendents and try to get in the classrooms and get into the schools as often as we can to see, how we're dovetailing together, how they're preparing students to move into the world of higher education.
So as Joplin High School develops new ways at their new high school of teaching and using their students, we need to be aware of that at Missouri Southern.
It's very interesting. They've got some very cutting edge concepts, no textbooks and things like that, that are kind of, don't know if they're experimental or exactly what, but we're not at that point yet where we don't have textbooks.
We're still using books.
We still have them.
But we're looking at the opportunities for also giving students. We've had the Lion Pride tuition, which allows those students from out of state to be able to come into this region. Which, right on the border, we have those students 10 miles away. They're across the state line.
Yeah, it's been very helpful. I think that we have more to do in promoting that program, but we're seeing incremental growth in students being attracted from nearby. My goodness, we're right in the corner, just a few miles from Kansas, and
Oklahoma's right down the highway.
Arkansas is not very far, so yeah, we're perfectly situated for the Lion Pride tuition discount to really help students, and we're just kind of going out in concentric circles in how we're recruiting.
Seeing more, that enrollment is increasing then when you
look
at
the numbers. It is increasing, yes, it's increasing.
Together. Well, earlier you mentioned athletics being obviously a very visible part of the campus, but people they look at Missouri Southern, they see things such as music programs. There's a lot of other things going on that tie the community to the campus.
Yeah, you mentioned music programs. Just this week we've had some opportunities to see our jazz band, last night, and percussion ensemble, I guess, and then the choral flourish, and the music program, I mean, who could be more proud? My goodness, they're just fabulous. And our theater productions just knocked me out. I mean, Jim Lyle and the crew, they do a fabulous job. And the art department, they're terrific too. I just don't know how you could, if there's a hidden gem in the Ozarks, it's our music, art, and theater productions. People just maybe aren't quite as aware of what they have, what they're missing here. Although I noticed last night at it was standing room only.
The concert, right? So
they
do know some of those.
They're catching on. Yeah.
Right. So those are great opportunities for the community to come to campus. I mean, a lot of times you have a separation between town and college campuses or university campuses, but those are ways to bring people here.
Yeah, the old town and gown battles and stuff. We don't have that. We're very fortunate. The new city manager, Sam Anselm, I've known Sam, he's a great friend. The Chamber of Commerce, Rob O'Brien, I've worked with him for years. So. Dr. Huff at the school district here. And, it's a kind of a whole community effort. It's just very comfortable working with those folks.
When we think of community, we often, when we talk to those people, they talk about economic development. And so are you part of the economic development team for the region as well when they get together and talk about possibilities?
Well, yeah, in fact, this evening we'll be meeting with Rob O'Brien and some prospects from Chicago. So we'll have dinner, and then tomorrow do a little tour of campus. And we do those regularly. To try to help recruit new
the business is going to come down. They want to see what we have.
Yeah, try to see what we can do, to help them be profitable, which we want to do.
Right.
Which creates opportunities for our students.
Of course, on the business side of things, our School of Business has a lot of outreach programs, in addition to the master's programs that
they're fabulous. Sure, the Small Business Technology Development Center does a lot of great work. Plus, we're doing a lot of things in certifications that are new this year. That the Placer School of Business is a shining star. They're doing a great job.
So really supporting the businesses in this community and their needs. And of course, healthcare, that's something we see with our health science building, which had a new name added to it this fall. So that's another big service for the community.
Yeah, I think putting Dr. Leon's name on the building was a very fitting thing to do. But that also came with a big piece of fundraising. We raised $1,600,000 to name some of the rooms in the building and name the building in honor of Dr. Leon. Some of that went to scholarships and some of it went to capital improvements. But yes, the health science building is it's another reminder of the baby boom growing older and needing more health care, I think, because we have a lot of demand for students moving through the health in nursing or dental hygiene and those programs, which then puts pressure back on Reynolds Hall because they all have to take
those science classes.
Yes.
So, and then of course, as Mercy rebuilds and comes up with a new facility, and we have Freeman with their existing facility, the whole healthcare business in this region is very strong. So that ties right into that.
It is. It's this is a little hub of the healthcare kind of circle. The new Mercy facility is going to be large.
If you drive by it now, you can see
big. And Freeman, they reach out into the community in all different ways. So there's a great demand, and we have a great relationship with both Paula Baker and Gary Pulsifer. And they help us kind of guide us as we try to create the programs that they need.
So when people visit their healthcare providers, oftentimes those people who are helping them are Southern graduates.
They are. In fact, one of my sons had a spider bite earlier in the fall, and the nurse practitioner where we took him, she went to UMKC to become a nurse practitioner,
Right.
but she was a graduate of Missouri
Missouri
Southern.
Southern.
Yeah.
So we're getting them that first step as they move on down the
And
road.
then she came back home to practice
So keeping people
and
with
did a great job with him, by the way.
That's good. That's taken care of. Right. Well, a lot of things on campus. If someone were to ask you, what's the most proud moment perhaps this semester that we've had, or something that really stands out in your mind as far as a memorable moment?
Oh, there's like 1,000 memorable moments. I don't know what the most proud moment would be. Other than, I think every year the most proud moment is commencement.
Right.
And when students walk across the stage, that's just, to me, it's the capstone. In a week we'll get to do it again. So I can't think of anything that really makes me more proud than that, is to see students achieve. On a personal level, I guess, I would be proud of how we've improved communication among the faculty and staff and administration. It seems to be working well. We have good lines of communication. So yeah, that's gratifying to see happen. And I think what I'd be most proud of, I guess, is to just see faculty and staff walking across campus with their heads held high and their shoulders thrown back,
Happy.
feeling like they're doing a good job because they are.
Great. Well, you mentioned commencement, and I wanted to also mention that at commencement you have opportunities for some of our well-known graduates to come back and help out. Tell us a little about this year's.
Well, we do. Kevin Williams will be back this year. He's the Chief Financial Officer at Jack Henry in Monette, which is just a fabulous success story. Kevin is 6'10", and former basketball player, as you might imagine. And just he was an accountant for years with a local accounting firm, and then went to work as a Chief Financial Officer at Jack Henry. I think he'll just do a great job. In fact, he was here today. We had a little time together. Great guy.
Great. Pre-planning for the commencement
And he can
ceremony.
hit a golf ball a mile.
Oh boy. So, and that's something that when you mentioned the pride at commencement, that you have the community, the parents, the family members of those graduates are gathered together. It's kind of brings everybody in that whole picture together.
It does. It's a joyful day. It's a day of achievement and recognition and celebration. And something that Dr. LaPira, I'll give her credit for, kind of instigated, I guess it's been a year and a half ago, is sort of the receiving line at the end where,
walk through the group of the faculty.
Stop and applaud the students. That's become a very moving moment. You'll see students with tears in their eyes, You want to stop and hug a professor.
That's great.
That's important.
And I know Missouri Southern also started a few years ago. The freshmen, as they come in August, you have a convocation, a kind of formally welcome them to campus.
We do, and that started at that point in time to talk to them about graduation. They should set their goals right there. They should get their eyes fixed on completing, not just participating. We have far too many people drop out in this country. They need to stick with it and just finish. So yeah, the convocation certainly welcomes them, but hopefully it starts to set that opinion that they need to be focused on graduation and not just participation.
They get the little medallion as a freshman. They can wear that again when they graduate.
They get a medallion, and they also get a picture. They get a group picture, and then at the end they'll do it again, just over by the lion. So it's kind of cool.
That's neat. Well, as we're recording this program, the people can't see in the audience, but we have international students helping us with this program, and Missouri Southern is still continuing its strong international emphasis.
It is. We have great commitment to, and this is a great story. I think we have students behind the camera from South Korea who came here independently. They didn't know each other. They apparently met here on campus, which is pretty remarkable. But we have stories like that all the time. And this is the Turkey semester, which is really I don't know how many years ago they picked Turkey, but for it to be this year, and
because of what's happening in the world, is very timely.
Very timely. So someone was very prescient or fortunate, or both. But it's just a really fabulous opportunity for students to get a global view, of the world that we live in now. A few years ago, the book "The World Is Flat" came out, and it really made some good points. But the world's not flat; it's round, but it's shrinking. And every day, this world just gets smaller, and people can do business around the world just with the tap
because of the internet and everything we can.
Just real easy. So the world is kind of shrinking and moving faster.
And so by allowing our students at Missouri Southern to see that and have hands-on experience internationally, it's strengthening them for the future.
That's a great boost for them, I think. It gives them a step ahead of students who haven't had that opportunity.
Well, as you look ahead to 2015, the new year, do you have any goals that you like to set for the university?
Well, I'd just like to see us certainly go ahead with this plan of how we recreate a new financial model for the university moving forward. Then we also need to move into some strategic planning about what we want to do as a university, and who we are, and who we're going to become, and what needs we can satisfy in this community for the people we serve.
So it sounds like there's a lot of opportunities for input from faculty, staff, and community members as you work on these projects.
Oh yeah, we're going to be looking at to people for answers. I mean, there's no one person has the answer. We're just all going to have to work on it together. But we really focused on the financial piece early because I think we had to. But now we're going to focus on the academic and the future piece for us as we move forward.
And as president, you welcome input from people on campus, and they can pick up the phone and call you or send you an email, and open office, open contact as well.
Sure, yeah. Email me anytime or call me if you want. Email's easier to keep track of, I think. But telephone number's listed too, no problem.
So looking for people working together, it sounds like. It's a team effort, as you would say, for the future.
Yeah, it has to be a team effort. I think, something Jack Stack says that in his, he said, it's easy to stop one person, but it's really hard to stop 100. So, when we all get together, we can get things done.
Well, look forward to following up, and I'm sure the community as well who are watching outside of Missouri Southern as we continue to grow and develop for the future.
Well, it's really a joy to be here. It's really fun to watch this place. Here as a student, 40 years ago, or in that neighborhood, Jim Jackson corrected me, said 37. So 37 years ago, and then back now, it's just fabulous to see how the university's developed and to be a part of it now. It's just really an honor.
Right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to visit with us and sharing with our community today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Judy.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.